Hi, nurse friends. It's me, Nikki, again, the creative director of Transform Nursing, and I'm so excited to be doing yet another Facebook Live with you today. Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about what does a culture of safety look like. And I hope that you're excited about this topic. I know that I'm definitely excited about it and want to share more about it with you. So I'm going to share just a few evidence-based tips and a little bit about my own story when it comes to what I think is really involved in a culture of safety. All right. But first, if we've never met, I am the creative director of Transform Nursing, and I'm an organization that is charged to really help nurses globally confidently address issues of social justice, health equity, diversity, and inclusion, and do so through a very dynamic leadership approach. And the approach that I use is really all about how do you get to know yourself, build that awareness so that you can be the most adaptable, flexible, and relevant leader. Isn't that exciting? So you can be the most influential leader possible. So I have a really awesome course coming, as you are aware of. Hey, Shannon, good to see you on. I have a course that's coming called the Nurses Influential Leadership Lab, and a webinar that is on its way. I cannot wait for this to come to you. I have a few more weeks and it'll be here. So I'm super excited about it. Keep following the work that I'm doing. I hope that you're enjoying this, and just keep sharing with me so that we can grow together. So if you can hear me, as usual, hit like. And if you like what I'm saying, then please give me a heart, or give me a wow, or give me something. Engage with me. I really enjoy being engaged with you. So please share with me what you're learning and what you find interesting about the work that we're doing. So I love knowing where people are coming from. So share with me too where you might be joining from. I like it, especially when people come from all over the place. So share with me where you're joining from today on the live, and leave comments. Share and tag other people if you feel that this information is beneficial. Tag a nurse if you're not a nurse. If you're in the healthcare profession, thank you so much for joining. If you're not in the healthcare profession, thank you for joining. I think that you'll find a lot of the content that I present can be relevant to anyone in any type of professional aspect of work. So I hope that you enjoy what we're going to be learning about today. So whether you're watching the live or the rebroadcast, I absolutely come back on later and I look at your comments. I look to engage with you. I look to learn more about you. So please share with me as much as you possibly can about what we're talking about. So again, we're going to be talking about what does a culture of safety look like? So without further ado, let's just jump right into this as a conversation. So Forbes has said that culture, the word culture, is actually a really big buzzword in business. And I think that that's really, really cool because culture sort of blew up, and the word culture of safety, culture of well-being became this really big thing when the business industry started to recognize that folk were looking for something a little bit greater out of the work that they were doing. And what we're recognizing right now is that our millennial generation is coming in with different expectations, right? They're coming in with the expectation of being able to have work-life balance, to have the harmony that they're looking for. They're looking into work, their scheduled work time, but maybe not really work a whole lot beyond that. And I'm generalizing. I do understand that. And then in general, we have most, other generations, our baby boomer generations, our Gen X, maybe Gen Y, have different expectations as well. And so I know when I came into the nursing profession, the expectation was that you worked really, really hard. You didn't really stop. You didn't really pause and make sure that everybody was doing okay. You just sort of kept doing the work that you were doing. And I think that things are really changing. And I see these changes happening first and foremost in the tech industry. So the Googles and the Facebooks of the world are really introducing these concepts of culture of safety and really culture of well-being, right? So they're bringing in things like yoga classes and free food at the workplace, and bringing in the dynamics of like beer bashes and parties and office swag and hot yoga. I mean, you name it. The options are endless, even unlimited, vacation. Like that's just, I think, incredible. So we're seeing this trend happening in the business world where we're seeing that culture of safety, culture of well-being is becoming critical. And my question to you, one of the questions that I have for you, is that becoming critical for healthcare? Are we seeing that same trend where we're trying to promote that culture of safety and promote that culture of well-being? What do you think about that? Well, I think that we have some things that we're working on, but we're not really quite there yet. I recently did a Facebook poll, and it's funny because I did this poll and I could only pick 2 options. And if you know me, I like to have a lot of options. I like to ask a lot of questions. I like to engage you. And so I was like, oh no, I can only choose 2 options. But let me tell you what the poll was. So the poll was, I asked the question of, what do you think is the #1 reason why nurses leave the bedside? And I thought that that was a really good question. Because we're seeing a lot of trends in nursing, like a trend that we've seen for quite a while now is that baby boomers are retiring. So, you know, the nursing profession is obviously getting younger and we're losing a lot of people. So we need more nurses in the professions, and yet people are leaving. So my option for that question of what is the #1 reason why, you know, nurses leave the bedside was, is it because of lack of, you know, money? Is it they're not being paid enough for the work that they're providing? Or is it poor management? Right? And before I go into the answer and tell you the response of my poll, what I wanted to do was share with you a few evidence-based approaches and some thoughts about why nurses may be leaving the bedside and why the healthcare profession is going through some of these changes. Well, I did go to one of the best notable evidence-based resources, and that's Gallup. Gallup does a lot of our surveys for our healthcare industry, and they had some really interesting things to say. All right. So there was a Gallup study that was done that revealed that 89% of employers believed that workers were leaving their company for more money because they weren't being paid enough, right? That's a perception that people have. Oh, you need to make more money. You know, nurses work really hard. I know I had times where I was just like, they do not pay me enough to do this work that I'm doing at the bedside, right? But in reality, it's only 12% of workers that actually leave for more money, right? Hey, Jessica, good to see you on. And Chico, good to see you on as well. So it's only 12% of workers that leave the bedside for more money, when this Gallup poll, you know, folks sort of believe that it's for other reasons. And I thought that that was really interesting because it's almost like we really want to believe that the reason why healthcare workers and nurses and people are leaving is, oh, they're not being paid enough and they're not happy with what they're being paid. But that may not be the case. Hey, Rosalind, good to see you on. So that's not really the case. And when they explored it a little bit deeper, these were the other results that survey found. That this study, the same study, revealed that 75% of workers who voluntarily leave their jobs do so because of their bosses, not because of the position itself. I'll repeat that. 75% of workers who voluntarily leave their jobs do so because of their bosses and not because of the position itself. So not because of pay. People are leaving because of poor management and poor leadership. Funny that I would be doing a course on leadership in nursing, right? People are really, really interested in wanting to have better leadership in nursing. As a matter of fact, hospitals lose anywhere from $5 to $8 million on nurse turnover. That's an incredible amount of money. Nurse turnover is essentially losing a nurse at the bedside, having to replace that nurse, and having to train another person to come into their place. And so we're losing money in our profession. Let me tell you what that means in the business world. And healthcare is big business, okay? In the business world, what that means is that they're going to be critiquing nursing even more. We're already the largest healthcare force, okay? Therefore, we get essentially paid the most because we are so large. So where do you think people are going to be looking for cuts, if there's poor performance for nurses? And we already know that nursing, when it comes to nurse-patient ratio, that's very important. And we know that the lower the nurse-patient ratio, the better care that we're able to provide, the better that we feel most of the times with our productivity and our ability to provide that care at work. So it made me really think, I'm like, is poor leadership really that important, in our profession? And it actually really is. That's what the numbers are saying to us. So we really need to have a better response as nurses to this need for better management. And I'm hoping that you'll keep learning and growing from what I'm saying and what I'm sharing about leadership. Something will stick with you that makes you say, maybe this is something that I need to learn a little bit more about. So the results of my poll, drum roll please. The results of my poll that I asked, and the question again that I asked was, what is the number one reason why nurses are leaving the bedside? And the responses were either not being paid enough or poor management. Well, 73% of folks said it was poor management. So we know in essence what the problem is, right? But do we know how to fix that? Do we know how to create a culture of safety where people feel as though the work that they're doing is valuable and the work that they're doing is going to be recognized and appreciated, and even more, are they going to be safe in their work environments? Hey, Vera, good to see you on. So I wanted to bring up a very important concept that I think we know about as nursings. We don't really like to talk about it, but it's lateral violence. And has anybody ever been a victim of lateral violence? I know I definitely have. And lateral violence, for those people who don't know what that means, is it's something that takes place when an employee engages in disruptive and inappropriate behavior. Okay? So lateral violence is when someone engages in disruptive or inappropriate behavior towards another employee of equal or lesser position. And I gotta tell you, this happens more than I'd like to see. It happens so much in nursing. It happened to me. I gotta tell you, there were so many times where I thought I was leaving. I don't know about you. Good to see you too. There were so many times when I thought I was gonna leave the profession of nursing because of the fact that there was so much lateral violence, because I was berated in front of patients and in front of other nurses. I was yelled at. I was talked down to. I was made to feel as though I didn't know what I was doing. And that was a really uncomfortable feeling. And I'm going to share a little bit more about one of my students' story as well. But I wanted to give you some statistics about lateral violence in nursing. So the Online Journal of Issues in Nursing recognizes lateral violence as a problem. And they say anywhere from 44 to 85% of nurses have experienced it, right? And up to 93% of nurses have witnessed it. 93%, guys, have witnessed lateral violence in nursing. That scares me. Does that not scare you? Like, I think about that and I'm like, oh my God, that makes me gasp a little bit, because nursing is known to be a very compassionate profession. And yet we're not really that compassionate one towards another. Let me share a story from one of my former students who just reached out to me maybe last week and was sharing with me about an experience as a new nurse. She's brand new in oncology, and she was noticing that there was a lot of gossiping on her floor and her unit, rather. She was noticing that there was a lot of gossiping on her unit, and she's new in the profession, and I think her nurse manager pulled her into the office and basically was saying to her, hey, we're noticing that you're not doing so well when it comes to medication management. Can we help you? Or maybe not can we help you, but we noticed this. And it made her uncomfortable. She asked who was saying these things, and they wouldn't say who was saying it. And that made that even more complicated, because if you don't know who's perpetrating and who's, sort of victimizing you, it makes it even more difficult to really approach the problem. And so I asked her, I'm like, hey, is there anybody that in a leadership position that you feel safe enough to speak to? And she said no. And that concerned me, because this is a very well-known organization, very well-known hospital in the United States. And I was concerned because I was like, we're still having these issues of lateral violence that are showing up. So what do we do about this, right? What do we really do? What do we do about making our culture safer? And how do we, sort of go about being the change that we wish to see? Well, I have a few tips for you. And I hope that some of them are very useful to you. So my first recommendation is that safety begins with you, right? Whether we want the culture to be safe or not, it's fully up to us to make sure that, in part, that happens. If someone comes up to you and they're gossiping about another nurse or a patient or someone else, it's your job to sort of shut that down, right? So if someone is gossiping and you're responding and engaging with that, that's the first step in saying, I'm going to be a part of this as a problem. But you can stop the gossiping by not being someone that people want to go to. People never came to me about gossip on my unit. Like, I just was not the approachable type for that kind of behavior. And people knew that. And they didn't come to me. I mean, they would talk about other people, but it wasn't something that I was a part of. And I was really excited about that because we need that standard, right? So safety begins with you. If you have someone gossiping, don't welcome that, all right? Seek a mentor or a coach. And I know that can be really challenging because it's really not a lot out there directly in terms of how to achieve that mentoring and coaching. But in part, this is what my course is really all about, is developing that peer support and that network so that you do have people to go to. You do have a leadership structure, and even more so, you have a strategy for dealing with disruptive behavior and disruptive people. All right. So mentorship and coaching are really going to be critical in really overcoming lateral violence and promoting a culture of safety. Making leaders aware of the problem as soon as it becomes a problem, I think, is important. Not allowing it to fester. With this particular nurse, it was a couple of months before she had the confidence to come and say, I feel like I'm being victimized here. So coming forward sooner, I think is going to be really important. And you can check out some of the links that I've listed here that share with you about lateral violence. And you could check out the links that I've shared, which are some of the resources that I have on my website to give you a little bit more information and background, so that you have the confidence that you need to go to your managers or go to those in leadership and tell them that this is happening and I need something to be done about it, right? And the last thing, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have office swag, and it doesn't hurt to have free yoga at work and have meditation rooms and have meditation spaces and serenity areas. And I say that a little jokingly because in nursing, we have a really hard time with taking care of ourselves and just creating that space where we can have serenity. But it doesn't hurt to have it. I mean, Google has it. Facebook has it. Why can't we have it? We take care of people. We experience a lot of compassion fatigue. We deal with a lot of moral and ethical challenges in our profession. Maybe we need a little bit of a buffer against that. So advocate for some of those systems kinds of changes, which I talked about before, so that you can really create that culture for yourself that's going to promote the safety that you're looking for. All right. That's what I have to share with you all today. I hope that you've enjoyed learning about what a culture of safety looks like and how you can promote that culture of safety as well. I hope you've learned a little bit more about lateral violence, the challenges that we're having with it in our profession, and what you can do personally to help someone else who may be a victim of it, or if it's you, so something that you can do to help yourself as well. All right. Please check out the features on my website. Look at my blog. I'm creating lots of different content for you, and keep looking out for this course that's coming. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. I hope you have a great one. Ask any questions that you may have about nursing and lateral violence and about a culture of safety. I love to share what I have, and I love to share what I know. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful and happy Sunday.